State's governor says they're at war with Mother Nature.
Anyone who declares victory and says it's over, it is way too early to say this is at its completion of. Maybe the severity is downplaying now, and right now it's not as bad as it had been over the last couple of days, but it is still a dangerous situation to be out.
Forecasters say conditions should improve in the days ahead, but until then authorities say people should only travel if it's totally essential. Sean Dilley, BBC News.
Earlier, I spoke to Matthew Capucci, a meteorologist based in Washington. He told me that this extreme weather had been widely predicted, but the severity had still taken many by surprise.
This is something we saw coming days in advance, but the bigger story is kind of how this fits into the pattern. So initially last week, we talked about that big U.S. bomb cyclone, this low-pressure system that was spinning over the Great Lakes. It was sucking down frigid air on the backside with temperatures of -40 over the central U.S. Everyone's focus was really on that, and I think folks forgot about the second act. So as this storm pulled away into Canada, cold air on the backside raced down parallel to the Great Lakes, then picked up moisture from the Great Lakes and deposited those little strips of moisture downwind of the lakes, i.e. at the end of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, and typically vulnerable snow belts. So like Buffalo and Watertown, New York, saw about 150 plus centimeters of snow in some locales, and it was kind of this second act. So for the most part, the storm was done for everyone else, except these two very localized communities seeing the brunt of the impact.
Okay, so you say the storm is pretty much done for everyone else. Just give us an overview of conditions right now.
So I think in Buffalo, things are finally beginning to wind down. But I got to say, in terms of blizzards, blizzards in general are bad. You have to have at least 3 hours of winds about 55 to 60 kilometers per hour or worse. And visibility is down to about, I'd say, 500, 600 meters. For this, what's happening in Buffalo, they saw about 2 to 3 days of winds gusting to hurricane force. Visibility is down to 5 meters for an extended period of time, which is just a type of condition that you can't even go outside in. So to see that for so long, the unfortunate reality is that people didn't take it seriously because Buffalo is so prone to heavy snow. But the big issue wasn't just the heavy snow, it was the crashing temperatures, the reduced visibility, and how quickly that snow was coming down.
And just put this in a bit more context for us then, Matthew. How unusual is it to see weather like this, as extreme as this?
So to see something like this, Buffalo averages a ton of snow every winter, sometimes upwards of 500 centimeters. What's happening this time is a sort of anomalous event, and I would say one that really stands alone. And I think the death toll, unfortunately, points to how bizarre and how rare this is. One of the unfortunate realities, though, is that we have to talk about how people died to have a good conversation about this. 3 or 4 people died from heart attacks shoveling that snow. So you can see how much snow there was. A number of people died from excess mortality, meaning emergency services couldn't reach them. But the bigger story, 14, 15 people at least perished because they ventured out into the storm and then got stranded. So it's very sad to see, but this was something that folks should have been more prepared for, especially because the warnings were there in advance.
Matthew Capucci.